When John Wilson announced the cancellation of our wedding, everyone said my life was ruined. I had been with him for 7 years, my heart and eyes full of him, as if I couldn't live without him. And John was about to marry a waitress I hired at my shop. Everyone around me was waiting for me to beg pathetically and plead with him to get back together. But they didn't know that I had voluntarily called off the wedding and agreed to an arranged marriage set by my family. Before I got married, I returned the family heirloom John had given me and the wish card he had handmade and given me when we were young, leaving completely clean, until the day of John's wedding, when he suddenly mentioned me. "It's been so long without a peep. Is Ivy Smith dead?" And a friend replied, "Ivy is getting married today too. Also getting married. Ivy, do you know how serious Emily's condition is?" "I know. I was the one who took her to the hospital myself. She might not make it off the operating table," John said with eyes full of pity. "So what?" I looked up at him, but I felt a faint unease inside. "So I don't want her to leave with regrets. Her biggest wish before dying is to have a wedding with me." I was silent for a moment. Then what were all these years for us? I laughed at myself bitterly and got up to leave. Then I called my grandma. "Grandma, I don't want to marry John Wilson anymore." Grandma was stunned. "You? What did you say?" I thought Grandma would press me for reasons, but she just sighed deeply. "I always thought John would be a good husband, but I never expected. I was wrong." "Grandma, Ivy, don't worry. As long as Grandma has a breath left, I'll definitely find you a reliable family. That way, I can rest in peace." I silently shed tears, finally realizing that Grandma was the one who loved me most. Our family and the Wilson family have been close friends since childhood, and we were betrothed as infants. Once, I thought John would be the only person who truly cared for me in my life. After all, during those years, my family was always busy with social engagements, and he was the one protecting and doting on me. I still remember a family gathering when we were kids. He took my hand in front of all the relatives and said, "Ivy is so pretty. I want to be with Ivy forever. Mom, can I bring Ivy home as my wife?" His mother teased, "You little rascal. Already wanting a wife at this age. Don't you want to ask if she's willing?" John held my hand tightly, his eyes clear and sincere, and asked, "Ivy, will you marry me?" My face flushed with embarrassment, and I pulled my hand away and ran off, making everyone laugh. From then on, he would always show up right on time at my doorstep, shouting "Ivy," and pulling me out to play. Sometimes when we got punished for playing too much, he would stand with me in the hallway as punishment for an hour. Before I knew it, our friendship had quietly turned into an inseparable love, growing deeper and stronger. When I realized my feelings for him had become love, his lips were already brushing my forehead like a dragonfly's touch. Later, he kissed me and said he would give me the grandest wedding in the world. And I waited excitedly for years. I waited year after year, until all my peers had married and had children, and friends couldn't help asking, "You two have been in love for over a decade. When are you getting married?" Nourished by years of love, I was full of confidence and beamed. No rush. Hell, marry me. I had believed wholeheartedly in his love and promises. But it wasn't until Emily Baker appeared that I realized our love wasn't unbreakable. I met Emily when I accidentally hit her with my car, learning she was alone and helpless. I took her into my family's shop out of kindness and gave her a job as a waitress. She often stayed at the shop, and sometimes I invited her home for meals. Once, she was clumsily soaking freshly washed clothes, half-dressed. When John showed up to bring me breakfast, John called her clumsy and wanted her to leave, worried she was new to the city and unfamiliar. I urged John to be more patient with this younger sister, never expecting it would invite a wolf into the house. After that, Emily, who was supposed to go back to her hometown, stayed at my house with various excuses, and her interactions with John grew. John seemed to openly disapprove of Emily, often criticizing her for dressing too plainly or scolding her for being inefficient. But as time passed, he started mentioning Emily frequently, his words unintentionally revealing care and affection for her. Though it made me uncomfortable, I didn't confront him directly. Instead, I secretly found Emily another place to stay, hoping to end this entanglement. Unexpectedly, Emily put on a pitiful act, suddenly kneeling down with tears in her eyes, sobbing to me, "Sister Ivy, what did I do wrong that you want to kick me out?" John's face darkened instantly, and he furiously snapped at me. "Ivy, when did you become so petty? Emily has contributed a lot living here. How can you be so heartless as to throw her out?" He even declared angrily, "Who would want a cold, unfeeling woman like you?" I stood dumbfounded at the door, watching John carry Emily away in his arms. I never imagined this scene would be captured by someone and posted online, sparking heated discussions. People questioned, "Am I seeing this right? Doesn't Mr. Wilson have a marriage pact with Ivy Smith? Why is he carrying another woman now? Rich kids are all playboys without exception. Ivy is so pitiful. She dated John for over 10 years, only to have him snatched away by another woman. Moreover, Ivy Smith is almost 30 years old. Right. If John Wilson doesn't marry her soon, won't she become an old maid?" After John hung up on me for the 10th time, news pop-ups kept appearing, and online users' sharp comments pierced my heart like blades. I didn't even have time to change clothes before rushing to John's house, hoping to clear up the misunderstanding between them. However, I was only unilaterally clinging to the hope of preserving their relationship. In a daze, I arrived at John's house, and a pair of conspicuous high heels in the entrance froze my gaze. A sound of rapid panting reached my ears, and I looked up to see two familiar figures intimately tangled on the living room sofa under dim light, completely oblivious to anyone entering. This jarring scene reminded me that John and I had once cuddled sweetly on that same sofa, but now, he held someone else in his arms, whispering tenderly in her ear, "Emily, if only I'd realized my feelings sooner. If I hadn't impulsively gotten engaged to that woman." Before he could finish, Emily's lips covered his, and John held her waist, responding passionately. His slender hands roamed and caressed her side as if treasuring a precious gem. Unfortunately, my vision is sharp, and I caught every intimate detail of their movements. "John, actually, I have terminal cancer, and my life is nearing its end. My greatest wish in life is to openly become your partner. Will you?" "I will. Emily, wait for me. I'll prepare the wedding right away. From now on, you'll be my wife." These words stabbed my heart like knives, bringing unbearable pain. Yet I couldn't even find the strength to move, letting their conversation assault my ears. Then, "What about Ivy? She's waited all these years. A little more won't hurt. Your situation is more urgent, John. So you remember how long I've waited. Yet you still chose to wound me." I trembled uncontrollably, the suffocating agony like 1,000 arrows piercing my heart, nearly making me collapse. Through tear-blurred eyes, I glimpsed Emily's triumphant gaze. As their voices rose and fell, I finally managed to move. Like a zombie, I pushed the door open and stumbled out. My gaze fell on the clusters of tulips by the entrance, as if those sweet whispers still echoed in my ears. Because I adore tulips, John had planted them all over the yard. He said he'd design our wedding and dress with tulips, that they symbolized our passionate, noble love and his true devotion to me. But true love vanishes in an instant. Now worthless, I wrecked that tulip field, my affection rotting into mud. "John, the first won't love you anymore." I wiped the tears from my eyes and turned to leave. Behind me, John had chased out at some point. Disheveled, he grabbed my hand, his expression conflicted. I stifled my disgust and shook him off, pretending indifference to avoid his mockery. But seeing my reflection in his eyes, hair wild, feet scraped and bleeding, body filthy, it was utterly wretched. I wasn't sure if John saw me crying, but I prayed he hadn't, bearing the heartache. I vowed this was the last time I'd be so pitiful in front of him. John looked at me with concern and sighed. Ivy, you need to be more reasonable. You know Emily's situation, I have to marry her. But don't worry. Once everything settles, I'll still marry you. Okay. Ultimately, it's still me who must yield. How could I have been foolish enough to think, just for a moment, that he'd come to his senses and try to keep me? I smiled bitterly and didn't reply. Seeing my silence, John grew impatient. Stop being so willful. All right. How absurd. Me. Willful. Then I'll be willful to the end. I said. I don't want to marry you anymore. John's face darkened instantly, and he snapped. What nonsense are you spouting? Who else would marry you? Don't forget. We've been together so long. Lived together for years, everyone knows you're already used goods. If we call off the engagement, who would want a second-hand woman like you? My eyes widened in disbelief. How could he utter such vile words? He knows how much I value my reputation. Yet he aimed straight for my weakest spot. Living together was his idea. He coaxed me into letting down my guard and falling deeper into his love. Now, it's become a weapon against me. Perhaps seeing my pallor, John realized he'd gone too far. His brow softened. Ivy. I spoke too harshly. I just want to resolve this properly. After I handle Emily's affairs, we'll still hold the wedding as planned. Then, you'll remain my one and only wife. Trust me, I only see Emily as a sister. This excuse was utterly ridiculous. I nearly blurted out. If you only see her as a sister, why did you end up in bed with her? And why, in a life-or-death crisis, did you save her and abandon me? I'll never forget that scene at the beach. Emily Baker confronted me openly, her lifted face full of defiance and triumph. Looking closely, her lively, bold demeanor was strikingly similar to my younger self. I just like John. So what? She declared. Want to bet? If forced to choose between us, John would only pick me. Before I could react, she suddenly pulled me toward the rocky shore. I wore no life jacket and couldn't swim. Someone's in the water. Help! Chaos erupted. Seawater choked me, blurring my senses as I fought desperately. Survival instinct screaming. In that moment, I believed John would save me first. As a child, I nearly drowned. Ever since, water terrified me. He had saved me back then. He knew my fear better than anyone. True enough, John swam toward me without hesitation. But just as I reached out, he veered past, embracing Emily instead. Others pulled me ashore, coughing violently from searing lung pain, eyes red and swollen, hair plastered like a drenched rat. I was a wreck. Later, I ran a high fever, hospitalized for 3 days. John never visited. He claimed the company was busy. Yet afterward, I heard Emily's voice in the background of his social media live feed about a work meeting. Initially, I consoled myself. Emily was orphaned and vulnerable. Protecting the underdog was right. Only later did I realize John had long since changed. Ivy, are you okay? John's voice pulled me from the memory. I gently withdrew my hand from his. I'll be staying with my family for a while. We once had a home together. But no longer. My calm acceptance seemed to surprise him. He stood frozen, watching me leave in stunned silence. My decision was firm. The engagement was off. After Grandma agreed, I went the next morning to see city's finest jewelry boutique. When John and I had set our wedding date, I commissioned a top domestic designer for our rings. Every gemstone selection, every intricate detail, was personally overseen by me. Since the wedding was cancelled, I wanted my ring back, but the clerk hesitated. Mr. Wilson picked up the ring last night and had it resized. My heart plummeted. Instantly, I knew. The ring was for Emily. Resizing a gesture meant to be thoughtful felt utterly absurd. My best friend fumed, stomping her foot and pulling me toward the door. Has John lost his mind? That ring held your soul. How dare he give it away without asking? I shook my head. Forget it. The ring's tainted now. Not worth keeping. Besides, they'll pay eventually. John reappeared later, approaching from a distance. His tender gaze momentarily disoriented me, making me believe he was once more the boy who loved only me. Yet, in the next breath, he offered a gold-embossed invitation. Emilis, and my wedding is next Friday. You're welcome to attend, if you wish. I stared at the invitation. Its symbol of true love, vibrant red roses glaringly bright. I pushed it away. I'm busy. Can't make it. John blinked. Busy with what? Planning my own wedding. I replied coldly. Truthfully, I had a new fiancé, CEO of Davis Group. John relaxed, a smile returning. He assumed I still waited eagerly for him. Only after he left. Satisfied. Did I close my eyes wearily? The Smith family needed a respectable groom to silence the gossip and reassure Grandma. Rumor had it Michael Davis had been disabled in a car accident 2 years ago. His health poor, but for a marriage of convenience, it sufficed. Coincidentally, my wedding was scheduled for the same day as John's. On the rainy morning of the ceremony, my bridal car paused at a red light. Suddenly, excited murmurs rippled through the crowd. Look! That's John's wedding car. Oh my God! It's my dream wedding procession. Following their gaze, I saw the lead car's window lower. Inside sat a man in an exquisite suit. John, spotting me, he stiffened, dark eyes wide with confusion. Ivy, what's she doing here? Then, noticing our cars heading the same direction, he eased back into his seat, lips curving. She came for my wedding after all. Our venues were nearby, and with only half my face visible. He hadn't seen my wedding gown. But then, his friend beside him spoke awkwardly. John, looks like Ivis getting married today too, they say. To that disabled CEO, Michael Davis. I didn't catch the rest. Exhausted from lack of sleep, I dozed off in the car. When I awoke, we'd arrived at the grand hall. Grandma held my hand as we approached the groom in the wheelchair. The sparse applause from the guests spoke volumes about their disapproval. When the groom turned, my gaze slowly settled on his handsome, aristocratic face. Such a strikingly beautiful face. Yet, Grandma had already investigated the Davis family for me. This third son, Michael Davis, came from a family equal in status to ours, known for his humility and kindness but lacking in that particular ability. Among the elite circles, no prominent family wished to marry their daughters to such a man, leaving him unmarried as he approached 30. Grandma said, the Smith family had many collaborations with the Davis family in the early years. They value loyalty and won't mistreat you. If you truly find happiness, I give you my heartfelt blessing. But if you feel wronged, come home. As long as I live, no one will bully you. A pang shot through my heart. I knelt by Grandma's knees, tears falling. Grandma, it'll be all right. Please don't worry. I knew how Grandma, despite her age, had swallowed her pride, seeking matches for me, only to be met with rejection and whispers that the Smiths had no heir. I wouldn't let her worry about me anymore. As Grandma prepared to place my hand in Michael Davis, I poured out my reluctance and sorrow. Even my parents wept. In my days, I felt transported back to childhood, standing on Grandma's feet, swinging happily. Such selfless love, I feared, would be gone forever. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. After several rounds of drinks, I wheeled Michael back to our bridal suite. He seemed in high spirits, flushed from the wine, his eyes appraising me, nervous as a first-time bride. I shrank back slightly, seeing my apprehension. A faint smile touched his lips. My face flushed hotly. Half embarrassed, half flustered, I lowered my head, stealing glances at the third son of the Davis family. He was indeed handsome, with perfectly sculpted, straight features. Perhaps the wine lent a healthy glow to his complexion, and his captivating, almond-shaped eyes held an almost hypnotic allure. Lost in my observation, he suddenly leaned close, his eyes crinkling with deeper amusement. Seen enough? No, I blurted out, my face burning instantly. I mean, Michael took in my flustered state, chuckled softly, and draped a blanket over me, offering profound security. Ivy, he said, I won't touch you until you're ready. Sleep. He placed a pillow lengthwise between us, creating a demarcation line on the bed. True to his word, he was impeccably proper that night. Not only refraining from touching me but never once crossing the line. He explained that even as a contract marriage, he hoped for harmony. He would never force me into anything I didn't want. I nodded, feeling a flicker of warmth towards him. I awoke from a good sleep to find Michael had prepared breakfast. His wheelchair posed no hindrance to his culinary skills. Ivy, your stomach is sensitive. Eat on time. Before I could wonder how he knew about my stomach issues, he added, after breakfast, shall we visit the flower market? Eager for some fresh air, I agreed, somehow knowing about my susceptibility to chills. He had a scarf and shawl ready, holding hands as we left. We looked every bit the loving couple. April brought the bloom of peach blossoms, enchanted by the view and intoxicated by the fragrance. I turned to find Michael presenting me with a large bouquet. Delighted, I asked, where did you get these? He smiled, just pretend I know magic. A warmth spread through me, my heartbeat quickening, momentarily intoxicated by his unexpected gesture. But I quickly dismissed the thought and pushed his wheelchair onward. Not far off, John Wilson stood watching us, his face pale and frame noticeably thinner. The corners of his eyes were red-rimmed, his voice trembling. Ivy, are you discarding me? Frowning, I turned back, unwilling to engage with him in front of Michael. John Wilson, I said coldly, we are over. Please don't bother me again. John's pupils constricted, pain etched on his face. Over. Ivy, what about over a decade together? How can it mean nothing now? This must be Mr. Wilson. Michael interjected smoothly before I could speak, taking my hand. Regrettably, we missed inviting you to our wedding yesterday. I trust you're here today to offer your belated congratulations. John's gaze turned sharp, his expression darkening. Michael continued, however, my Ivy has made it clear she has no further connection to you. Kindly respect that in the future. John let out a cold laugh. Don't provoke me. You, a cripple. Ivy only married you to spite me. Our years together mean nothing to an outsider like you. The word cripple struck a nerve. It was Michael's deepest vulnerability, not something to be mocked. I squeezed Michael's hand tighter, asserting, John Wilson, I don't love you anymore. My marriage to Michael Davis is none of your concern. If you keep harassing us, don't blame me for being harsh. John's face darkened further. He reached for me, but Michael slapped his hand away. The warmth vanished from Michael's eyes, replaced by a formidable intensity. His voice turned razor sharp. I warn you, stay away from Ivy. Otherwise, Michael Davis, will stake everything I have to ruin you. John froze mid-motion, stunned. Even I was taken aback by the ferocity in Michael's defense of me. I pushed Michael's wheelchair forward. Michael, I'm tired. Let's go. And you. I shot back at John. Don't come near me again. John persisted desperately. Ivy, you're just angry. Right. Just a week ago, we were picking wedding dates. Didn't you always dream of a rose-themed wedding? I replied calmly. Yes. Once. I truly did. Hope flickered anew in John's eyes. But now all I feel is nausea. Just thinking about you replying to another woman's messages while choosing the wedding date with me makes me sick. John Wilson's eyes darkened, and the rekindled hope was extinguished. His hoarse voice was filled with annoyance and regret. I was forced into it. Emily was sick at that time. I had no other choice. Besides, I've already been with her. If I don't marry her, The gossips from the outside world will ruin her reputation. I wanted to laugh. What about me? Everyone in both families knows that we've known each other since we were kids and have been in love for years. Have you ever thought about what kind of situation I'll be in when you treat me like this? John paused, his eyes full of confusion. But I was just having some fun with her. I'm sick of your hypocritical excuses. I interrupted him sharply. Even the onlookers who were watching the show fell silent. That day at the swimming pool, when you chose Emily over me. Did you ever think this would be the end of us? When you said she was your sister and you had to save her first, did you ever think that I can't swim and might drown in the water? There are countless ways for women to marry into wealthy families. You know this well. Don't you know that Emily faked having a terminal illness to force you to marry her, when you always made excuses for her and kept putting me aside? Did you ever think about our more than 10-year relationship? Emily's feelings for John were becoming more and more obvious. At first, John was very impatient with her and showed his love and loyalty to me both openly and secretly. But maybe since one night when I worked late and didn't go home, there had been an inseparable and intimate connection between them. John gradually began to feel sorry for her and always looked at her with gentle eyes. He even missed our anniversary to celebrate her birthday. Occasionally, when I got jealous, he would start making excuses. Emily was born into a poor family and is a timid and weak-willed girl. It's normal for me to favor her a bit. Moreover, she's the waitress you hired. She just wants to work hard and make something of herself. Shouldn't I give her more opportunities? Yes. She was so hardworking, delicate, and sensible. So, I had to think about her in everything. If I said something wrong, it was like I was bullying and wronging her. So, John gave the gifts he prepared for me to her and even gave her the wedding I had been looking forward to for 7 years. I never thought that a kind act of sponsorship would make me see the true face of the man beside me. Fortunately, now he's reaping what he sowed. The John in front of me was very different from the handsome and sunny boy in my memory. I stared at him firmly and said word by word, "John, from now on, we'll go our separate ways. Let's never see each other again." A look of madness flashed in John's eyes. He roared with red-rimmed eyes. "No, are you going to leave me for this disabled man? If he dies, will you change your mind?" A bad premonition flashed through my mind. John took out a knife and swung it at us. "Be careful!" John swung the knife very fast. I didn't have time to push Michael away. In an instant, all the bad things rushed to my mind. But the expected bloody scene didn't happen. Just heard a crisp pop. The small knife fell to the ground. Michael actually stood up and dodged at an almost impossible angle. At that moment, he slapped the knife out of John's hand. John was stunned for a moment. And then he got so angry that he wanted to fight physically. Michael was extremely fast. He leaned over, grabbed John's hand from behind, flipped him over forcefully. And John's hand was broken and he fell to the ground, along with John's scream. Michael said coldly, "I said I'd make you pay the price." Then, Michael glanced at me. The fierce look in his eyes disappeared immediately, replaced by nervousness and uneasiness. He seemed to be exhausted and leaned half on me, too weak to open his eyes. I felt so heartbroken. I didn't have time to ask how he could stand up. I just wanted to take him home. I glared at John angrily. "John, you've gone too far. I originally wanted to save some face for both families, but now it seems unnecessary. I'll hand this over to the police." John's face was distorted in pain. He looked at me sadly and said, "I'm injured. Can't you even care about me? Look at that bastard. He's not disabled at all but pretended to be. He clearly has an ulterior motive." I laughed. "I should really thank you. You made me know my husband better. Isn't it good that he's a normal person? From now on, we'll be a loving couple." John's face turned ugly. He swallowed hard and didn't say a word. I was about to lead Michael away when someone blocked our way again. A crazy woman staggered over. I looked down and saw it was Emily. different from the arrogant look I saw last time. Her delicate face was now smeared with mud. Her body was dirty, as if she had fallen several times on the way. Her hair was in a mess, looking just like a shrew in the village. She threw herself on John and cried loudly, "John, you can't leave me. My reputation is ruined. My parents will kill me. You can't do this." She stopped halfway through her words and was pushed away by John and fell to the ground. She almost crawled to my feet and cried with snot and tears, "Sister Ivy, please don't take John away from me. I really love him. Please." She cried so loudly that it made people frown. I was even more speechless. I wondered what crazy thing she was doing. She had already got what she wanted. Why was she still bothering me? I said impatiently, "Emily, I have no interest in John at all. Your couple's business has nothing to do with me." Emily cried and complained. "John called off the wedding on our wedding day. Where can I put my face? Sister Ivy, why won't you just give John to me?" I was shocked. I didn't expect John to be so heartless. It seemed that Emily's terminal illness was really a fake. However, Emily came from a conservative family. Being called off like this, she would probably be gossiped about by the villagers and lose face. But it had nothing to do with me. It was all her own fault. Now I just wanted to stay away from this place full of troubles. Michael seemed to sense my annoyance. He gently held my hand and asked softly, "Ivy, let's go home now." "Okay." I nodded. Michael Davis approached Emily Baker and whispered something in her ear that made Emily look at Michael with fear, shrinking back in terror and no longer daring to pester. Just after arriving home with Michael, he suddenly dropped to his knees without any of his usual domineering aura, startling me badly. To think that the third son of the Davis family would kneel before me. Word got out, it would surely trend #1 on social media. I quickly steadied him, almost kneeling down myself. He hung his head like a child who had done wrong, saying, "Ivy Smith, I was wrong. I've been hiding things from you." I knew he meant faking his disability and waited quietly for him to finish. Michael hesitated for a moment before speaking slowly. "Ivy, I'm telling you this because I don't want any deception between us. Not to win your sympathy." Michael recounted the car accident that had supposedly crippled him 2 years ago. It turned out he had fallen for me at first sight back then, when I was volunteering in remote mountainous areas for poverty alleviation, and he was one of the investors. I was being harassed by a rough man on a mountain road and nearly got hit by a passing car. Michael saved me, which supposedly left him disabled. But I was unconscious and had no memory of it. According to John Wilson, he was the one who rushed me to the hospital. And after that, I became devoted to him without knowing the truth. Actually, the injuries from that accident weren't severe. I recovered after some rest. Michael said, but the competition to inherit the Davis group was fierce. So I pretended to be disabled to appear weak. On our wedding day, I finally cleaned out all the corruption among the Davis executives. But I didn't know how to confess to you. Seeing me purse my lips in silence, Michael grew anxious, his voice trembling. "Ivy, I didn't mean to deceive you. I didn't want you to be with me out of gratitude. Everyone says you and John are a perfect match made in heaven. How could I interfere? Until you called me your husband in front of everyone. I was so happy. Even if you said it just to spite John." "Ivy," he whispered again, his eyes reddening. This time, I opened my arms and hugged him, stroking his head. I muttered, "So silly." I finally understood why he knew I loved flowers and had meticulously planned a trip to the largest flower market. I finally understood why he knew I hated the cold and couldn't stand the slightest chill. No wonder. After my fallout with John, he came to me immediately. Not for anything else or any exchange of benefits, but just to marry me, even if it was only a formality. He had done his homework, approaching me cautiously, afraid my feelings weren't pure, afraid I still had John in my heart. Not even daring to show jealousy, Michael pressed his head tightly against my shoulder, his voice hoarse and muffled. This time, Can I openly love you? I nodded firmly, holding him tighter. That night, we talked until dawn. And he apologized repeatedly for sneaking around to learn about my happiness like a thief, for failing to protect me from the hurtful gossip, and for not making our wedding perfect enough. But I knew the wedding dress he gave me was custom made by a Milan designer in a rush. One vacant in the country, far more precious than what Emily wore. He cried as he spoke, then laughed through his tears, murmuring that he loved me even as he drifted off to sleep. Ivy, do you know? I'm so afraid this is all a dream, that when I wake up, you won't be mine anymore. I patted his shoulder gently, and we both sank into a deep slumber. Life with Michael kept getting better. My grandmother was happy for me, and her health improved a lot. Thankfully, Emily and John had enough sense not to disturb us anymore. And I gradually moved past the shadows of the past. In my free time, I scrolled through the news. A video of my argument with John on the street had gone viral, trending on social media, with waves of netizens condemning the scumbag in an exhilarating spectacle. How shameless. I used to think John was the epitome of loyalty, but he's a total jerk. That waitress is an ungrateful wretch, knowingly being the other woman so disgraceful. Thank goodness the goddess escaped that mess. May the scumbag and gold digger stay locked together forever. Some even exposed that Emily was pregnant with John's child. They had a huge fight on the street. John pushed her down. She bled profusely on the spot. And the baby wasn't saved at the hospital. Once a top student at a prestigious university, she now faced cyberbullying, unable to get her diploma near graduation. As for John, rumor had it he was stuck with Emily's family of leeches, forced to pay for the broken engagement and abortion costs, while they occupied his house and harassed him daily at his company, making a ridiculous scene. Just as I was engrossed, a hand took my phone from behind, a tone of playful scolding in his voice. I told you to rest, and here you are back on your phone in under 2 minutes. I smiled helplessly at the man's jealous expression and raised my hands in surrender, but he clearly wasn't satisfied. Leaning in to demand a kiss with a domineering air, pinning me down on the couch, Michael confessed that, 2 years earlier, he had secretly confronted John once. He had noticed John flirting with infidelity, though it wasn't Emily at the time but another young, beautiful college student. Michael warned John, saying, Ivy has her heart set on you. Don't betray her. Michael added that everyone has flaws and temptations, but as long as they haven't crossed the line, it's not too late to change. But John didn't listen. So even without that college student, there was Emily. Without Emily, there would have been someone else. The mistake isn't with every Emily Baker, but with him who can't control his mind and desires. However, none of this matters anymore. From now on, we'll never meet again. Don't ask where he's going. I'm going to embrace my new life.